I'm gonna say Selena Gomez is true, that you were at Selena Gomez's wedding, you joked, hey, you beat me to the altar.
It's false.
What is the rules? Wait, what are the rules of the game? The game is not, it's false. The game is, it is, what is the game called?
I don't know.
Sorry, that's false?
Yeah.
So you never
it's
said
false.
that?
Well, I got to see her be the most elegant, gorgeous, not only bride, but just vision that I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen anything so beautiful as her on her wedding day. I love her. And she deserves
and Benny.
All of his happiness. Benny is him.
The best,
He
dude.
is so funny.
He's the best.
He's the best. So I did make a speech, but I actually made a point not to mention anything about my engagement. Nobody wants you to be like, hey, I know this is your wedding day, but like, you know, like I was like, don't
it's not
mention
about
it. Like,
you.
maybe turn it around. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yep, this is her day.
I did do some light teasing about the way that we used to dress in 2008, the year that we met. Because we met when we were teenagers in 2008. It was quite a year. Let me tell you, it was the year of deep, deep V-necks.
Was it deep?
I just go into
Very
like,
deep.
I just go into like
Very deep,
the Gilded Age.
Deep. Oh,
I love the Gilded Age.
me too. The Gilded Age.
Get me started.
Don't even.
Carrie Coon's character. It was the year of aggressively colorful skinny jeans. Everyone was walking around saying things were amazeballs. Mrs. Astor hated it.
Oh my God, that nailed it right there.
So basically, Selena used to, like, her favorite outfit back then was like a very long tank top, skinny jeans.
They know it.
But like a tiny little vest. Like the smallest vest and Chucks. And that was her, like, uniform of that year.
Yeah.
And mine was that I just always looked like I was, like, late for the cowboy-themed junior prom. And so I talked a little bit about 2008. I talked about how happy I am for her and how just beautiful it's been to get to be a part of her life. But I did not make it about me.
Okay, good. All right, then I'm going to have my second guess here. And I'm going to say, I think it'd be funny if Ed Sheeran learned about your engagement on Instagram.
That's so true. Perfect explanation.
Oh no!
He doesn't have a phone. He doesn't have a phone.
Did he write a whole album about an old phone that he had or something?
But he doesn't have one that works.
Yeah, it's true. That is true.
So he doesn't have a phone, and this is like one thing I love about him. It's very eccentric. Love it. But when I'm going through being like, hey, like, you know, hey, who
all
should
my
we
peeps.
call? Who should we FaceTime? I'm going through my texts and being like, who have I texted within the last, like, month of my life? And he just wasn't there because you have to, like,
How do you get a hold of him? The bat signal?
You have to email him, and then if you want to set up a FaceTime, he has to find an iPad. They have to give it to him like he's a child that they give the iPad to.
Yes, and he watches an episode of Bluey, and then...
This is one of my absolute favorite people on the planet. And
I know, that's why I didn't guess
that. And then when the news came out, I was like, oh my God, we forgot to call Ed. Oh no.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, he's like family. Like,
of course.
I love him, but he doesn't have a phone.
Should we transition to Wood? This is Wood. W-O-O-D, by the way, if anyone's watching, that
Yeah.
W-O-O-D, like wooden, yes, wood.
Yeah.
Here we go, this is Wood. All right, now this great, those are great tunes. By the way,
Thanks.
do you come up with tunes before for this exact song? Did you go? Ba-na-ma-na-na-na-na?
No, so I brought this into the studio and I was like, I want to do sort of like do a throwback kind of timeless sounding song, and I have this idea about like I ain't got to knock on wood, and we would knock on wood, and it would be all these superstitions. And it really started out in a very innocent place. You know, it started out like, I don't know what happened, man.
We went off the rails.
I got in there, we started vibing, and I don't know. I don't know how we got here, but I love the song so much.
It was a night that would set off 1,000 headlines and even more rumors. Arrowhead Stadium hummed with electricity as Taylor Swift took the stage, her voice echoing across the Kansas City sky. Somewhere in the crowd, Travis Kelce, the Chiefs' star tight end, was holding onto a bracelet. Inside it, a tiny note with his phone number, a bold, almost reckless gesture. But the bracelet never made it to Taylor's wrist that night, something he would later confess with a kind of sheepish charm that only made the story more irresistible. Nobody could have predicted what would happen next. Not the fans, not the media, not even Taylor Swift herself. The next morning, Taylor found herself doing what she always did after a show, making coffee, savoring a rare moment of stillness. The adrenaline of the arena was gone, replaced by the quiet hum of her kitchen. That's when her phone rang, a number she didn't recognize lighting up the screen. Normally, she would have let it go to voicemail, but something nudged her. Maybe it was fate, or just the gentle curiosity that comes after a night of singing to 70,000 people. She answered, and on the other side a voice stumbled out. "Hey, this is Travis, the guy with the love bracelet. I'm sorry I didn't get to give it to you." Even now, Taylor laughs recalling that moment. He sounded nothing like I expected. Here's this huge football player, and he's on the phone like a high school kid calling his first crush. He was funny, but also sincere. You could just tell he meant every word, even if he was nervous. The conversation, meant to be a quick hello, stretched into nearly 45 minutes. They talked about the concert, about their favorite foods, about trips they wanted to take someday. Travis asked Taylor a question she'd never been asked before. If she weren't Taylor Swift, what would she do? She said maybe she'd open a small coffee shop in Nashville. He paused, then said, "Well, I'd be the guy making you coffee every morning." It was a cheesy line for sure, but it didn't feel like a line. It felt honest, unrehearsed. Taylor could hear the smile in his voice, and something inside her softened. They kept talking, and the world outside seemed to pause for a moment. There was no stage, no stadium, no screaming fans. Just two people, awkwardly and honestly, getting to know each other. Taylor would later joke that she half expected him to start bragging about touchdowns and trophies, but he didn't. He never mentioned his career unless she asked. Instead, he wanted to know about her life, her music, what made her laugh, and what made her tired. He asked me, "Do you ever get tired of being so bright all the time?" And I realized nobody has ever asked me that before, Taylor shared in a later interview. I told him, "Yes, sometimes I do." And he said, "When you need a break, I'll be there for you to just be yourself." That was the moment Taylor realized that this conversation might be something more than just a flirty call. It was a confession of sorts, and it lingered with her long after she hung up. For a while, their lives returned to their usual chaos, his football, her music, their schedules packed to the brim. But they kept talking, finding little pockets of time for each other. The calls became as regular as her morning coffee. After a few weeks, Travis invited her to a Chiefs game. Taylor hesitated, worried that her presence would turn into just another media circus. So she made a playful deal. "If you win this game, I'll come see you." It was a high-stakes challenge, the kind you make when you're secretly hoping to see someone again. And of course, Travis rose to it in spectacular fashion, scoring the winning touchdown. The moment he left the field, he sent her a message, "You won." Taylor laughed when she saw it. Suddenly, she had no choice but to keep her promise. Their first meeting was nothing like the world would have imagined. No red carpets, no bodyguards, no press. Just a quiet corner of a small Kansas City restaurant. Travis wore a gray sweater, looking almost shy as he walked in. Taylor was dressed down too, her hair loose, her makeup minimal. For 2 hours, they talked and laughed and forgot about everything outside those four walls. Taylor remembered the moment he walked into the room. It was like all the noise around him disappeared. He didn't have to say anything. He just smiled, and that was enough. Their dinner stretched late into the night, neither wanting it to end. When it finally did, they parted with a long hug, a moment both would remember and mention often in interviews, even as rumors swirled and fans speculated. What made their connection so captivating was its unexpectedness. Taylor Swift, the queen of heartbreak anthems and fairy tale romances, finding something real with an NFL star famous for his swagger and strength. It felt improbable, like a plot twist in one of her own songs. Yet the more you learned about their story, the more it made sense. Travis, for all his bravado on the field, was just as vulnerable and thoughtful as Taylor when the crowds went away. He listened. He asked questions that nobody else thought to ask. He didn't try to impress her with grand gestures or extravagant gifts. He just showed up, every time, with honesty and humor. Taylor, who spent so much of her life in the spotlight, found comfort in the way Travis made her feel seen, not as a superstar, but as a person. Someone who could be tired, or silly, or just quiet for a while. Their relationship grew quietly in the spaces between games and concerts, in long phone calls and secret dinners. It was a slow burn, the kind that doesn't need fireworks to be unforgettable. And as they got to know each other, they realized that what they shared was worth protecting. Of course, the world eventually caught on. Photos leaked, rumors spread, and suddenly everyone wanted to know everything about Taylor and Travis. But the heart of their story remained theirs alone, a bracelet never given, a phone call that changed everything, and a promise that being yourself was enough. In a world obsessed with fairy tales, their story was refreshingly real. Two people, wildly successful in their own worlds, finding common ground in the ordinary, coffee, football, music, and laughter. Maybe that's why we can't stop reading about them. Because behind the stadium lights and the sold-out arenas, there's a story about risk, about honesty, and about the kind of courage it takes to make a call to someone you barely know just because you feel something you can't explain. And maybe, just maybe, that's the kind of love we all hope to find.